I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
But you're right. We should talk about Mason Mount.
Yeah.
And I intentionally took this point to transition into Mason Mount and take the ownership of it because, damn, this kid is looking exceptional.
Take the ownership of it. Jeez.
Yeah, absolutely. Frank Lampard after the match talking about Mason Mount specifically, saying that he's had a great trip and he's announced himself into the first team squad. And yeah, this guy is, he should have had at least an assist today, had one good attempt on goal. It was kind of always rising a little bit. And I'm just so excited, Nick, for I think what he's going to bring to the team. And I think he could lock down a starting position before any of the other kind of like new youth integration in the team quicker than anybody else.
Okay. Yeah, considering that Callum's hurt, I think that's a fair point. Ruben's obviously, it looks like he's further behind with the same injury. So Mason has been encouraging to me, Brandon, I think because he is finding little pockets of space in a way that kind of reminds me a little bit of like when Juan Mata would duck in and out and just be able to look at the lines and then be able to find a spot, turn and run. And, he obviously has a great eye for a pass. I'm excited about his skill on the ball. I think that he, could potentially add a couple of goals to the mix and be a really interesting player at that point. But I think at this point of the year, Brandon, you're looking at him for movement. You're looking at him for how he interchanges, and so far, so good.
Yeah, he's very versatile in the number 10 role. When he can play almost as another striker, he can stretch a defense by getting in behind. He's great at combining with a striker, or he can drop deep and get it. He's shown a lot of different things. Like, honestly, I'm genuinely impressed. I didn't know what to expect. Didn't watch Derby last season. Thank gosh Ram did. I'm glad you chatted with him about that. But yeah, he's been really impressed with how dynamic he is. Playing with his back to goal, getting in behind, his link up plays, eye for a pass. It's been great to see, and I can't wait to see more of it. Honestly, there's probably gonna be a lot of competition for the front three. Obviously, Willian coming back. You still have to dislodge a person like Pedro. Pulisic is out wide. Mount's been out there, but if you only have one position, that number 10, Barkley also looked good today too. So it's good. I think if it's kind of between him and Barkley, it's a good situation for us. Having two guys kind of go head to head for that spot. I think there's still be a lot of minutes to play and a lot of healthy, but it's been a joy to see Mason. And I guess Lampard keeps shooting down my fringe comment from last episode. So we'll have to see. Mike, any thoughts from you as far as Mason Mount stand out? Did it a little bit different than what we talked about?
No, I think so often we've had players who, you had Matic in midfield who wasn't shooting. I think when I look at our midfield and we have, potentially a Barkley or a Pulisic or, Mason all around the box, they're unafraid to shoot. I think that it opens us up in a way in which we're somewhat spreading the offensive responsibilities around, and I think it just makes it harder for teams to come up with, hey, we're going to double and triple team Eden and just kind of sit in the box. I've been very, very I'm so happy to see how Mason's played. A young kid like that to step up with the opportunity that you presented. That's everyone's dream, and to see him kind of come through, it's great hope for the club. It's great for him personally, and I think he's going to get a lot of playing time this year. I don't know how much in the Premier League, but I think that if he can push Barkley and Ruben and everything else, I think it's going to be an embarrassment of riches for us. And I think if somebody's going to manage that and keep people motivated, it's Frank. So I think that this is actually a good situation for us as opposed to in the past where we might have had players, just rotting on the bench.
Would you say, Mike, that competition for places is an interesting way to use a team's resources.
It's weird, in most other sports, you use competition to push people.
What's
but
a depth chart?
yeah, I don't know. If you just
No, we're gonna get into that later. Don't worry.
if you use a Sharpie to pencil in somebody on a roster, it's weird how lazy they get about shit.
I think
That's why I'm still on this podcast after 5 years.
I can't find an eraser. It's ridiculous.
Rubbing
I
alcohol.
think there's still a lot of room for Mason to go in proving himself, but he's doing everything right, and so you can't fault him. You expect a young player and somebody to come from a loan to have an exceptional, right? They need to stand out. They can't just fit into a system. They need to go above and beyond and be one of the highlights. I think he's done it, Nick.
He has locked in a starting spot because he gave us a shout out, you guys. I mean,
Heyo.
yeah.
there is no quicker way into that Sharpie mode than to give the London is Blue podcast a little shout out in the hallway. That was super nice of him. He didn't have to do that.
No, not at all.
I mean, he nailed the pronunciation and everything. Couldn't have asked for more.
Like, he did it for his career, and I'm happy he did that. That was good.